Yo, what's going on, everybody? So, I wanted to hop on here today and tell you about some of the funny service calls I went to. Back when I worked for an irrigation company, part of my job was driving from house to house, building to building, showing up whenever something broke. And if you've watched my other videos, you know I worked with a guy named Mike all the time. He made mundane jobs hilarious, an absolute character. So today I want to tell you about a couple funny calls me and him went to together, plus one I did solo where a homeless woman went on a rampage. Now, the variety of customers we had was insane at this company. One day we'd be working in a rough neighborhood at an apartment complex, and the next we'd be pulling up to like the richest neighborhood in Toronto. I've been inside some of the most expensive penthouses you can get. I've worked in the homes of famous people, lots of pro athletes from the Raptors, the Leafs, the Jays, even some of the team owners. Most of our work was in those high-end areas, but every now and then the office would send us to a rough spot. And you can guarantee if I was going somewhere, kind of ghetto, I'd be paired with Mike. Like I said in one of my other videos about him, he genuinely believed they were sending him to the important coves. Meanwhile, they were sending him to the worst of the worst, the places where if it got messed up, nobody cared. There was this one call in a building off Shooter Street in Toronto that me and Mike got sent to, and part of Shooter can get pretty rough. Mike loved reminding everyone that he used to be homeless and lived in this area. I've mentioned it before, but Mike had no teeth, and for some reason, anytime he had to say the letter S, he would whistle. I don't know how that works. You think it would only happen if you're missing like one tooth, but this man would whistle through his gums. We got sent to this neighborhood on Shooter, and he would always say, "Yeah, my old stomping grounds down on Shooter. Yeah, I used to sell black Afghan hash out of the back of a fucking church down here. It's where I met my wife, Tammy." So me and Mike, we pull up to this building. It's very rough. And here's the thing, when you show up to like a high-end building, the super barely cares. He's busy with like 100 other things. Irrigation is the last thing on his mind. He'll just hand you the master key, point you in the direction of the shutoffs, and dip. But when you go to a low-end building, the super is on your ass. They're hovering, they're watching everything, acting like they know better than you. It's because they have like nothing going on all day. So us coming is a big deal. And this would drive Mike insane. And this guy, this super at this building was exactly that type. This super was like a short, stocky guy. He didn't have much hair. And if you told me he was like sleeping outside every night, I would believe you. It looked like he had never heard what a shower was. The first thing we had to do was go into the underground parking garage to find the water shut off. And there was literally dirty needles all around it. I guess people in the building, or maybe even the super himself, had been stashing them in the pipes running along the ceiling. He wasn't even like fazed by it when we told him. We turn the water on, we go outside and start messing with the sprinklers, and the super follows us out there, and of course he's watching like every little thing we do. He starts demanding a specific watering cycle. He goes, "Yeah, I want it to run like, I don't know, every day except Sunday. I want it to run maybe twice a day and morning and evening." This guy also kept trying to tell us how he wanted different watering durations for individual plants. I don't know what he thought he knew, but if we set the system the way he wanted, it was going to kill like every plant on the property. He was going to flood the whole place. And of course, Mike jumps in immediately. No, you do not want to be watering these flowers that often. You're going to kill them. These are perennials." Mike starts trying to like break down what's planted in the garden, and the super fires back. "Yeah, I understand what the plant needs. It's my garden. I fucking planted the things." Mike does not receive that well. "If you know what you're doing, then why are you trying to kill the fuckers? You're drowning them. These plants around here are going to be yelling, 'Help me, I'm drowning.'" So now I'm just standing there watching these two old crackheads argue about a watering schedule. Eventually Mike gets frustrated and just agrees to do whatever Buddy wants. Keep in mind, the city was 100% going to fine the hell out of him for running that much water, but Mike was actually happy about that. Once the super goes inside, Mike starts ranting. "Stupid motherfucker gonna get me fired for killing all the building's plants. Might as well strap a boom cannon to the roof and drown the fuckers." We finish up outside and head into the building, and it catches my eye in the lobby by the mailboxes, like near the elevators. There's this giant poster, and it says, "Watch out, this resident is stealing mail." It's just a blown up, blurry security camera photo of a guy in a hoodie looking over his shoulder like a side profile, like a classic wanted poster. And the building is small. It's only like 4 floors, and they have a clear photo of him, they pretty much know exactly who he is. So it's like, why is he why is he still living here? This poster wasn't even asking people to like identify him. It was basically just like, hey, look out, Buddy in 3B is stealing mail again. And that was the only time I ever went to this building, but it was a weird place. There was this one time I was working a call in a pretty normal neighborhood, kind of like an upper scale townhouse area in Toronto. I was working alone that day and it was early, like 6:30 or 7 a.m., my first call of the day. When I finished and started heading out, the whole street was basically dead. People weren't even leaving for work yet. There was maybe one or two people walking like way down the sidewalk, but other than that, it was literally just me. Across the street, all the houses had those driveways that slope down into the garage, and I noticed this lady standing at the bottom of hers, but because of the angle and all I really can see from where I'm parked is the top of her head, the garage door is closed and it sounds like she's having an argument with someone, but I can't see anybody else. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't care. I went back to doing my thing. I'm in the back of the van, opening the squeaky back doors, tossing in tools, moving parts around, slamming shit, making a bunch of noise. I see this lady at the bottom of the driveway suddenly like whip her head around and lock onto me. I don't know what it is about the way she moved, but just how fast she like snapped 180 the second she heard noise, almost like a zombie. I could tell something was off. So I stand there for a couple seconds just like waiting to see what she's gonna do. I'm thinking she's about to yell at me for being really loud at like 7 in the morning. Instead, she just starts hightailing it straight at me. I'm standing at the back of the van just like, what the fuck is happening? Once she gets to the top of the driveway and I can actually see her properly, I realize this lady does not live here. She's clearly like a crackhead who wandered into this neighborhood, and she had been standing on someone random's driveway screaming at their closed garage door. She's coming like right at me at this point, and I have maybe 2 seconds to decide what I'm gonna do. In my mind, it was either square up, because I knew she meant business, or get in the truck as fast as possible. Based on her physical appearance, her track marks, she was all scabby and bloody and probably like 75 pounds. I had zero interest in letting her get anywhere near me. The last thing I wanted was her touching me or her blood getting on me, God forbid. So I chose option two, get in the van as fast as possible. The second I got inside, slammed the door and locked it. Both her hands smacked against my window. She pressed her face like right up to the glass and started screaming at the top of her lungs. Most of it was just gibberish, but one thing she kept repeating was calling me Joe Rogan. And that like really threw me off. Like, how does she even know that name? I'm not talking like modern 2025 Joe Rogan. I mean back in like 2016, 2017. It pulled me right out of the moment. I wasn't even scared anymore. I was just zoned out. Like, how do you know him? You're living on the streets in this condition. How would you have the time or ability to watch Joe Rogan? Anyway, she makes her way around to the front of the van and just horks the most disgusting loogie right onto my windshield. It had color too, like deep color. Then she starts working her way around the van down the side, just smashing it, punching it, kicking it. I didn't really care. The van was old and beat up anyways. And then just like that, she disappears. As fast as she came out of nowhere, she was gone. Now, as I'm heading out of the neighborhood, I start to think like, is it really responsible of me to leave this wild beast out on the loose with probably like any minute now children walking to the bus stop or heading to school? She was on a rampage, and the last I saw her, she was heading deeper into the neighborhood. So I turned the van around and went in the direction she was walking. My thinking was that maybe I could like get her attention and she'd chase the van or something and I could lead her away from random people. I drive down the road looking around, nothing. I go through a couple stop signs, still nothing. And then I see a younger woman, maybe in her early 20s, sitting on the sidewalk. She was kind of like strewn over, crying pretty aggressively. So I pull over, jump out to see what's good. She told me she had been attacked by the same woman. She had been out walking her small dog, and the homeless lady had attacked her and then kicked the dog, like pretty hard. She was crying mostly because the dog was hurt, but also she was just in shock. So I walked her back to her house. It was only a few houses down, and she said she was going inside to call the cops. I told her like, yeah, all right, you do that. And after that, I did a few loops of the neighborhood just trying to see if I could spot the beast again and make sure no one else was like getting jumped. But she was gone. No sign of her anywhere. Since the woman I helped was already calling the cops, I just left it at that. So pretty interesting call to say the least. Definitely an interesting way to start the day. One of the funnier calls I ever went to was this like extremely expensive penthouse in Yorkville, which if you know Toronto, Yorkville is like a ridiculously pricey area. The streets are tight all one ways and parking is a nightmare. Usually when you go down to these high-end places, nobody's ever home, but this guy was different. He was a young dude, always home, and every time someone from our company went up there, he'd offer you like beer, weed, maybe blow, whatever. I don't know what he did for a living, but he partied nonstop and clearly had money. It became kind of like a running joke in the company. Everyone wanted that call because you never knew what this guy was going to give you. So one time I pull up there with Mike, and of course, somehow Mike is the only guy who doesn't know about this dude. I'm cracking jokes like, oh yeah, we're going to go up here and get fucked up. And Mike's just looking at me like, what? So I start telling Mike the reputation this guy has and what he's probably going to offer us. And when we get up there, and of course, Mike is instantly like, not on the job. No way. The boss won't like it. But we get up to this penthouse, and sure enough, the guy offers us beers almost immediately. Now, we joke around about Mike, and he really is one of the funniest people I ever met. But if Mike said no and I said yes, he would 100% try and report me to the boss. He'd be telling all the guys at the shop, like, oh yeah, he's getting reprimanded in the morning. I'm throwing him right under the bus for drinking on the job. So I said no because Mike said no, but he specifically actually said, I'm not a drinker. I'm a smoker. Yeah. So, of course, the guy then offers us weed, a joint, and we could go out on the balcony, and Mike said, really? Don't mind if I do. So we go out on the balcony to smoke, and I can tell this dude is in like disbelief at Mike, just like everyone is the first time they meet him. Mike spends the entire time complaining about his landlord, or as he calls him, his slumlord, and how he's being hounded for rent all the time. Meanwhile, we're standing on this balcony of a penthouse worth over like $10 million, smoking with a 33-year-old like multi-millionaire. Mike's hitting the joint while also ripping darts. He's like literally dual wielding and losing his mind about his landlord. Me and this dude are trying not to laugh at him. After that, we just did our normal job. This penthouse had like irrigation on multiple balconies. It didn't take that long. They were pretty small. And usually when you had one call in an area, you'd have others nearby. Everything was grouped together so we didn't waste time driving all over the city. So we had a few more jobs in Yorkville, and like I said, the parking here is brutal, narrow, one-way streets, barely any space. And one thing you have to know about Mike is that he loved bragging about how good of a driver he was and how his driving record for whatever reason was clean. He'd always say, I have a clean driving record, no infractions. Which was like complete nonsense because, like I said in another video, he was the only guy at the company who somehow racked up a ton of red light camera tickets and caused accidents. In between calls, he drove like a maniac. Mike's whipping this big work van around these tight Yorkville streets, and it's the fall time, so we're doing blowouts, which means we're blowing all the water out of the irrigation pipes so they don't freeze in the winter. That meant we were towing this massive compressor behind us, which made like everything 10 times harder. And even though Mike was acting like he was totally fine, it was obvious the weed had hit him, and he was being all defensive, being like, nope, don't feel a thing. Pretty sure that guy gave us ditchweed. You should see the stuff I have at home. It knocks me on my fucking ass. So we get to the next house. I hop out to stand in an open spot on the road so nobody takes it, while Mike circles around the block to come back and parallel park. Keep in mind, he's doing this with that big van and a compressor behind it, so it's a nightmare in this neighborhood. Mike comes back around and starts like lining up the van to park. Immediately, he messes it up. He rolls down his like crank window at lightning speed and starts yelling, I can't see you. Where the fuck are you? You're not waving me back. I don't know how close I am to the other vehicle. But I was like perfectly positioned in his mirror. He was just too high and fucking it up. He peels off again, like all pissed off without saying a word, and circles the block again. Each time he circles around, it takes like 7 minutes to get back, It ends up being around 5 times he had to do this. So on the final attempt, he finally squeezes into the spot, and I'm yelling, whoa, whoa, like waving my arms. I can clearly see myself in his side mirror, but Mike completely zoned out, taps the car behind us. Luckily, there wasn't that much damage, but Mike just acted like nothing happened. He didn't acknowledge it, doesn't even look at the car, didn't say a word, not even to me. I don't even know if he noticed. The compressor is like half on the curb and half on the road. It's totally crooked. all skewed, sticking way up in the air. And when he gets out, he's all pissed at me like it was my fault. He's like, "You're a shitty trainee. If you're going to be working with me, you need to learn to back me up." But other than that, nothing really crazy happened on this call. I was just, thought it was hilarious that Mike insisted he was fine and he couldn't park to save his life. He was definitely high and he was all mad at me for it. Anyways, if you made it this far, I appreciate you. Peace.